with squares and square roots. I have a couple examples for you guys to get started today. So as you notice, we're going to be doing operations with our squares. So number one, a keyword in it says find the sum of all integers between. So we know that sum is adding, and then in between is also going to be a keyword in just a couple of moments. Okay, so you're going to take out your list of perfect square roots that we have made the last couple of days and we've been using. And this particular problem is talking about the square root of 4 and the square root of 64. So the square root of 4 is 2 and the square root of 64 is 8. So I'm going to make a number line to help us out. Okay, so I have the square root of 4 that I'm going to place on the number line, and then also the square root of 64. Okay, I know the square root of 4 was 2 from my list, and the square root of 64 is 8. Okay, and then my keyword also in the problem was between. So the numbers between 2 and 8 are 3, and it was integers, so all whole numbers basically. It didn't say anything about negatives. Okay, so my numbers between there are 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then it said the sum. So I'm going to add all of those numbers together. Okay, a quick hint, if you're using your calculator, great, but usually these particular problems show up in the calculator inactive, so I'm going to show you a trick to also add this in your head. If you find groups of 5 or groups of 10, that can help out. So 6 and 4 make 10. 7 and 3 make 10, and then you just have the 5 left. So putting it all together, the sum of the integers between is 25, so that would be your answer. Okay, on number 2, find the sum of all integers between the square root of 9 and the square root of 81. So I need a number line again. As I take out my perfect square list, I see that the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 81 is 9. So I'm going to place the square root of 9 on here, and then the square root of 81. Square root of 9 was 3. Square root of 81 is 9. And it said the sum of all integers between. So now I need to figure out the numbers or integers between 3 and 9. That's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so again, let's find our groups of 10 if we can. So this one we have 6 and 4. That makes 10. You're not going to use this 3 because it was not between. It wasn't like a number basically in blue, or the numbers between 3 and 9 are going to be the numbers here. So now we have 5, so it would be 15. I'm going to go and do 7 and 8. So as I add 7 and 8 together, the number becomes 13. And then I also have, no, it doesn't. That number does not become 13. It's 15. 10, 15, and 5. Okay, so as I add those together, I have 10 and 5, that makes 15, and 15 plus 15 makes 30. So my total answer for this problem would be 30. Okay, on number 3, find the sum of all integers between the square root of 12 and the square root of 40. So as you're looking at your perfect square list, you're probably like, Miss Stamps, like those aren't perfect squares anymore. That's okay. We're taking it a step further. So as you look, the square root of 12 is going to fall right here between 3 and 4. So the number before it, I'm going to place on the number line. So again, the square root of 12 will fall in between the square root of 9 and 16, because 12 is between 9 and 16. So I'm going to place a number line here again, and we're going to use the square root of 9. And then I'm going to show you that the square root of 12 falls right in there. Okay? And then also the square root of 40. So as you look, the square root of 40 is going to fall between the square root of 36 and 49. Okay, so I'm going to put the square root of 49 up here. Okay, which we know is 7. We know this was 3. And the square root of 40 is going to fall right in here. Okay, and it did say the numbers between. So as you go through, the next perfect square was even the square root of 16, which we know is 4. The perfect square underneath here was the square root of 36, which we know is 6, which is how I got the numbers between by using my perfect squares. And then I guess I spaced it out too much, but in the middle here would be the square root of 25, which is 5. So your whole numbers between 12 and the square root of 12 and the square root of 40 are going to be 4, 5, and 6. So then you need to add those together. Okay, 5 and 6 makes 11. Again, it was 4, or 5, 6, and 4, 4, 5, and 6. So 6 and 5 make 11, plus 4 is going to give you 15. Okay, on number 4, find the sum of all integers between the square root of 28 and the square root of 96. So as you can see, we don't have perfect squares on this one anymore. So we're also going to have to use our perfect square list to take our skill of approximating that we learned earlier in a different video and also apply it to this problem as well. So again, it was the square root of 28 and the square root of 96. So as you look here, the square root of 28 is going to fall in between the 25 and 36, or the square root of 25 and 36. 28 would be right in here. And the other one was 96, which is going to fall in between the square root of 81 and the square root of 100. Okay, so if you have your number line out, or we're going to create a number line. Okay, the one before the square root of 28 was the square root of 25. Okay, I'm going to put the square root of 28 on here as well, just so you can see. Okay, and then also for a visual, if the square root of 25, the next perfect square was the square root of 36. I'll put this on the number line as well. Okay. Now for 96, we are in between 81 and 100. So I'm going to put the square root of 81 on, square root of 100, because those were my perfect squares that are known, and then the square root of 96 falls in between there. Okay. And my keyword was integers between. So I'm looking here. And my integers between those 2 points are going to be the square root of 36, which is 6. Square root of 81 is 9. So the integers between there would be 7 and 8. And again, I knew that because the next perfect square is 49. And the next perfect square is 64. So my numbers are 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so I'm going to add those together. And my total answer is going to be 30. So a couple tricks. You have 17 for 8 and 9. Okay. If I take 3 away from the 6, that's going to end up making 20. So then I have 7 and 3 left, which make 10, because I took 3 away from here. So 30 plus 10, 20 plus 10 equals 30. So my final answer would be 30. Okay. The next one, find the sum of all positive integers less than the square root of 18. So again, as you look, the square root of 18 is not one of our perfect squares. So I'm going to make a number line again, just so we can visually see this. The square root of 18 is going to fall right here between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. Okay, so I'm going to start back in this direction since it says the word less than. So I'm going to put the square root of 25 on here and the square root of 16, because that is where the square root of 18 fell between, which is also a skill in a previous video if you want to take a look back at that if you're struggling just a little bit. Okay, and so our integers, sum of all positive, that is a keyword, so we're not going to go into the negatives. Integers less than, so if I have the square root of 18, which is here, the square root of 25 is greater than on my number line, because the number line increases in this direction. So the numbers less than are going to be 4. The next whole number or integer is 3, 2, 1. If you want to add 0, you can, but please know when we're adding, if we add 0 to something, we're still going to get the exact same thing. Okay, so then from here, we are going to be taking the sum. So the sum that we have is, or sums we can make, we have 4. So I'm going to take the 3 and the 1 and make a 4. I'm going to use that 4 and then the 2. And then adding those all together, my sum is going to be 10. Okay, as we look at number 6, Find the sum of all positive integers less than the square root of 84. So number line again, I know that the square root of 81 is perfect, and the square root of 100 is perfect, and so the square root of 84 is going to fall right in between there. Okay, so some couple keywords of this problem was positive and then integers less than. Okay, so I'm going to go, here's the square root of 84. Everything less than would be on this side of the number line. So that's going to make it 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you want to include 0, you can. Okay, so adding all of these together, let's make pairs of 10. So I know that 2 and 8 make 10. Okay, I know 3 and 7 make 10. I know 6 and 4 make 10. And I don't know why, but I forgot about 9 and 1 make 10. And then we have 5 hanging out by itself. So 10, 20, 30, 40 plus the 5 makes 45. So our sum of all positive integers less than the square root of 84 is 45. Okay, 2 more to go. Find the sum of all positive integers less than the square root of 54. So we're going to need a number line. Okay, I know the square root of 54 falls between 49 and 64 off of my list of perfect squares. 49, 64, 44 would fall right in here. Okay, so I'm going to have the square root of 49 on my number line and the square root of 64 on my number line. And so y'all can see it. The square root of 54 is going to fall in between. Okay, this problem said the sum of all positive integers less than, this right here is your very important word. And if the square root of 54 is here, the numbers less than are going to be on this side of the number line. So we have 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, same concept. I'm going to pull out numbers of 10. So let's do 3 and 7, 6 and 4. Okay, if I do the 5, and then 2 and 1 makes 3. Okay, so here we have 25, 6, 7. So 27 is my total, or my sum of all positive integers less than the square root of 54. Okay, and one more example that is going to kick it up just a little bit.